The wind screamed across Blackthorn Reservoir, bitter and unrelenting, carrying whispers of a boy who disappeared a decade ago. Clara Hensley stood on the rocky shore, her boots crunching against frost-covered pebbles, staring at the dark water where her brother had last been seen. Every year, the anniversary carved a fresh wound. But this time, Clara wasn't here to mourn. She was chasing a clue. 3 weeks earlier, while clearing out her late mother's attic, she'd found a locked tin box hidden beneath a stack of old quilts. Inside was a worn journal, its pages filled with her brother Theo's jagged handwriting. The final entries spoke of unease, of someone watching him from the cliffs, and a sketch of a path leading to a place he called the Hollow. Clara hadn't rested since. Now, with her old friend Javier at her side, and the journal zipped into her parka, she'd returned to Blackthorn. Not for answers, but for proof. "You sure this is worth it?" Javier asked, squinting at the slate-gray clouds. "The police scoured this place back then. Nothing turned up." Clara's eyes stayed fixed on the reservoir. "He left something behind." "I know it. This map points to where he was headed." Javier sighed, his breath vanishing into the frigid air. "All right, but if we find anything weird, we call it in. No hero stuff." Clara nodded faintly and started walking along the water's edge, tracing the journal's sketch against the landscape. The map was rough, but it marked a forgotten trail winding north from the reservoir, one that had been abandoned after a flood washed out the road years ago. After 40 minutes of trudging through snow and bracken, they found it, a steel door, half buried under vines and ice, set into a low hillside. No signs, no labels, just a faint blue stripe across its surface, weathered to near invisibility. "What is this?" Javier whispered. Clara crouched, scraping frost from a small metal plate in the ground. It looked like part of an old locking mechanism, long since rusted. "Theo mentioned an old survey site in his journal," she said. "Our mom used to consult for geological projects around here in the 90s. Maybe he stumbled onto something tied to that." Javier frowned. "This doesn't look like a survey post. It's too hidden." Clara ignored him, running her fingers along the door's edge. The metal was cold, solid, but a concealed handle gave slightly under her grip. "It's stuck," she muttered. "Help me." Together, they yanked at the handle, muscles straining until a low groan echoed from within. The door cracked open, releasing a gust of dank, sour air. They exchanged a glance, then pulled it wide. A narrow staircase descended into darkness, its concrete walls slick with moisture. "This is insane," Javier said, voice low. Clara switched on her flashlight, its beam cutting through the gloom. Theo wrote about a tunnel. He called it the Silent Chamber. "Let's go." The stairs creaked as they descended, the air growing heavier with the smell of rust and earth. After a long minute, they reached a corridor stretching left and right, lined with rusted doors bearing faded labels. B4 storage, utility 2, restricted access. Clara's flashlight caught a fresh scuff mark on the floor, not old dust but a recent drag. "Someone's been here," she said softly. Javier tensed. "You sure?" She nodded, pointing to the mark. "Not long ago." They pressed forward, passing doors marked operations, records, until they reached one labeled Observation Post 5 Classified. Clara froze. Theo's journal had mentioned Post 5 in a shaky scrawl. "I heard something behind the door. It's locked, but I'm not alone." She gripped the handle. It resisted at first, then gave way with a sharp crack of rust. The door opened into a small, square room, its walls lined with faded acoustic panels that swallowed sound. Their footsteps fell silent the moment they crossed the threshold. "The Silent Chamber," Clara whispered, her voice flat in the deadened space. A metal desk sat in the center, holding an old cassette recorder, its tape still intact. Shelves along the walls were stacked with cassettes, some labeled DoD property, others marked by year, stretching back to the 1980s. Clara's fingers traced the labels until she found one. 2009, TH Private. Theo Hensley. Javier stared. "Is that his voice?" Clara slotted the tape into the recorder. It whirred to life, powered by some lingering battery. Static hissed, then Theo's voice broke through, low and urgent. "If you're hearing this, I was right. I didn't get out. I saw her again, the woman on the ridge. She's watching me. I heard her on a radio talking about a vault, about keeping something locked away. I don't trust the sheriff's office. This place isn't what they say it is. It's not abandoned. There's something alive down here." The tape cut off. Clara's hands shook. "He knew he was in danger," she said. Javier leaned against the wall. "Why didn't anyone find this?" Clara's voice was ice. Because someone made sure they didn't. They left the silent room, the weight of Theo's words pressing down like the walls themselves. In the corridor, Clara noticed another door. Personnel records. It wasn't locked. Inside, filing cabinets lined a cramped office, papers scattered across a desk under a flickering bulb. Clara rifled through a drawer, pulling out a file with a photo of a woman in her 40s, sharp-eyed, hair pulled back. The name read, Margaret Voss, Site Manager, Clearance Level 6. A note on the back, scribbled in pen, Voss accessed Vault 3 without logging. Radio silence during entries. Clara held it up. This could be her. The woman Theo saw. A sudden clang echoed down the hall, metal striking metal. Javier whispered, "That's not the wind." Clara killed her flashlight, and they ducked behind the desk. Footsteps approached, slow and heavy. A shadow passed the door, pausing briefly before moving on. Clara waited, heart pounding, then whispered, "We're not alone." They slipped back into the corridor, following Theo's map to a door marked Vault 3, restricted. It was ajar, revealing a cavernous room stacked with crates and barrels. A folding cot in the corner held a sleeping bag, a recent energy bar wrapper beside it. "Someone's living here," Javier said, picking up the wrapper. Clara nodded, then spotted a locked cabinet in the shadows. She pried it open with a crowbar from the floor. Inside were files labeled Incident Reports, 2005 to 2010. One entry, dated a week before Theo's disappearance, read, "Unauthorized entry, male, late teens, observed in Vault 3. No action taken. Surveillance disabled." Clara's blood ran cold. They saw him. They let him walk in. Before Javier could reply, footsteps returned, closer now. A radio crackled. Movement detected. "Secure the vault." Clara grabbed the file and shoved it into her bag. They darted toward a side door marked Drainage Access, slipping through just as the main entrance creaked open. The tunnel beyond was damp, narrow, and sloped downward. After minutes of crawling, they emerged into a circular chamber with a rusted grate in the center. Against the wall sat a backpack, Theo's. Clara unzipped it, finding a waterlogged notebook, a broken pen, and a folded map with a single line. "If Clara finds this, don't stop. Vault 3 has the truth." A voice echoed from behind. "You're in a restricted area. Come out now." Clara stuffed the backpack into her coat. Javier pointed to a low passage blocked by debris. "That's our way out." They crawled through, emerging into a wider tunnel with a ladder. Leading up, the radio voice grew louder, more insistent. "Surrender the materials." Clara climbed first, Javier behind her. They pushed through a hatch into an abandoned pump house by the reservoir, slamming millions of dollars. Clara slammed the door shut and shoved a crate in front of it. The sky was darkening, and the distant hum of a motorbike roared through the trees. They weren't safe yet. Javier caught his breath. "We've got Theo's notebook, the file, the tape." "What now?" Clara clutched the backpack. "We find someone who'll listen. Someone not tied to this place." They trekked through the woods, following a faint trail to an old fire lookout tower. Inside, a dusty radio sparked to life. Clara tuned it, catching a faint transmission. "Perimeter active. 2 subjects. Do not engage." They were being hunted. At the tower, a woman stepped from the shadows, hands raised. "Clara Hensley? I'm Dr. Nora Patel." She held up a faded ID, Geological Survey Consultant, 1998. "Theo told me to watch for you if he didn't come back." Clara hesitated. "How do I know you're legit?" Nora handed her a letter from Theo, dated months before he vanished, warning about the vault and trusting Nora. "I tried to help him," Nora said. "I failed. Not this time." They moved at dawn, Nora leading them to a hidden shaft near a dry creek bed, an old access point from the reservoir's construction in the 80s. The ladder descended into a crumbling tunnel, older than the upper levels, its walls coated in moss. At the end, a door marked Vault 3, sublevel, glowed under a blinking sensor. Nora disabled it, and they entered a pristine archive room, its shelves packed with files. Clara found one labeled Hensley, T. 2009. Inside was a photo of Theo inside the facility, looking scared, and a log. Subject TH accessed Vault 3. Monitored, no action taken. A sealed bag held Theo's keychain, a gift from Clara. Javier plugged a USB into a humming server. A file opened, Theo's voice weak but clear. "I'm Theo Hensley. I came to Blackthorn looking for answers. They're hiding something in Vault 3. I'm not alone down here." The recording ended. Clara's eyes burned. He was here. They knew. Voices approached outside. Nora pointed to a vent. That's our exit. They crawled through, emerging near the reservoir as the radio crackled. Subjects in Vault 3. Contain them. In a hidden cabin, Nora's satellite uplink hummed. Clara uploaded everything, Theo's tape, the files, the photo. As it hit 62%, vehicles roared outside. Federal operation. Surrender now. Javier rerouted the signal through a backup module. At 98%, Clara stepped outside, hands up, stalling the tactical team. Nora fired a flare, a signal for help. The upload hit 100%. The truth was out. The files spread like wildfire. Theo's voice played on news channels, #Blackthorn Vault trended, and investigations launched. Clara, Javier, and Nora stayed off-grid, watching from a remote tower. A leaked email warned, "You've said enough." A blurry photo showed them at the cabin, taken days earlier. They kept moving, but the world was listening. Lawsuits formed, officials testified, and Voss's name surfaced in every report. Clara held Theo's keychain, vowing to finish what he started. The reservoir's silence was broken, and the truth would not be buried again.